is that this state can only arise when someone has stopped trying to create it. The moment you're trying to make someone attracted to you, the moment you're performing, the moment you're calculating, you've destroyed the conditions under which attraction can actually happen, because attraction at its core requires genuine presence, genuine interest, genuine ease. And all of those things are impossible when you're focused on whether someone is attracted to you. Think about what happens inside someone when they're around a person who is desperately trying to make them like them. On some level, they sense the calculation, they sense the need, they sense the desperation underneath the presentation. And what their nervous system registers is neediness. And neediness is not attractive. Neediness is the opposite of attractive. The person who needs you to like them has less status than you do. They're dependent on your approval for their self-worth. They're trying to manage your emotions about them. And all of this communicates low status. But the person who seems perfectly fine whether you like them or not, who is focused on their own things, who seems genuinely interested in who you are, but not dependent on how you respond, that person communicates security. They communicate independence. They communicate having options. And those things are attractive. Here's what most people get wrong about attraction. They think it's something you have or something you create through effort. They think if they just try hard enough, if they just present themselves in the right way, if they just say the right things, they can make someone attracted to them. But this fundamentally misunderstands what attraction is. Attraction is not something someone does to you. It's not something that can be forced or created through tactics. Attraction is a nervous system response. It's something that happens in someone's body when they're in the presence of someone who communicates certain things through their energy, through their focus, through their presence. And the things that create that response are almost the exact opposite of what people think. Let's look at what actually communicates attractiveness on a neurological level. When someone is around a person who is focused on their own things, who seems engaged with their own life, who seems like they have a full internal world, something shifts in their nervous system. They sense vitality. They sense aliveness. They sense that this person has their own life going on and that being included in that life would be valuable. Compare this to someone who is focused entirely on whether someone likes them, who is performing for approval, who is orbiting around the other person, trying to get a reaction. What that communicates is the opposite. It communicates that this person's internal world is empty, that they need someone else to fill it, that their aliveness is dependent on the other person's response. And far from being attractive, this is actually repellent. It's burdensome. It puts responsibility on the other person to manage this person's emotional state. This is why the most attractive people are almost always the ones who have a compelling life independent of romantic or social connection. They have projects they care about. They have friends they're engaged with. They have interests that matter to them. They have a sense of direction and purpose. And all of these things are visible in how they carry themselves. They move through the world with a kind of ease that comes from not being dependent on anyone else's approval. And that ease, that security, that sense that this person has something going on is what makes people want to be around them. Not because they're performing it, but because it's real. Now let's talk about the specific psychology of why chasing destroys attraction. When you chase someone, when you're constantly trying to get their attention, when you're constantly trying to prove your worth or demonstrate that you'd be a good choice, what you're communicating is that they have something you need. You're communicating that your happiness is contingent on them. You're communicating that you don't have enough going on in your own life. And all of this lowers your status in their perception. If someone perceives that you need them more than they need you, then in the social hierarchy, you're below them. and people don't feel attraction to people they perceive as below them. They might feel compassion. They might feel a sense of responsibility. But attraction, genuine attraction, requires a sense of equality or the perception that the other person has something you don't have, not that they have something you desperately need. Here's something that's worth understanding at a deep level. Attraction flows toward what seems valuable, and value is determined by scarcity. A person who is available all the time, who responds instantly, who is always trying to get your attention, is not scarce. Their attention is abundant, and abundant things are not valuable. But a person who is somewhat unavailable, who has their own things going on, who doesn't need your approval, who you're not sure whether they like you or not, that person is scarce. Their attention is valuable because it's not guaranteed. And people want scarce, valuable things. They don't want abundant things that are freely given. This is not about playing games or being manipulative. This is just understanding how attraction actually works. If you want to be attractive, you don't manipulate scarcity. You actually have a full life. You're actually engaged with things beyond whether someone likes you. You're actually not dependent on anyone's approval. And because those things are true, because your attention is genuinely scarce, because you're invested in other things, people naturally find you more attractive. You're not performing anything. You're just actually living in a way that makes you valuable. Think about this in specific contexts. A person who is talented at something, who is genuinely engaged with their craft, who is focused on mastering something they care about, is attractive, not despite the focus on their craft, but because of it. Their focus communicates confidence. It communicates that they don't need anyone else to validate their worth. It communicates that they have something going on that's bigger than any one person or any one relationship. And all of these things are attractive. Compare this to someone who has no particular interests or passions, who is just looking for someone to fill the void. That person is not attractive, even if they're nice or even if they try hard. The absence of something compelling is what makes them unattractive. This is also why the people who are most attractive in social settings are rarely the ones trying to be impressive. They're the ones who are genuinely interested in understanding other people, who are engaged in real conversation, who seem like they're fine whether the conversation goes well or not. They're not trying to be liked. They're just genuinely present. And that genuine presence, that genuine interest without neediness is what draws people in. The person who is trying to be impressive, who is constantly thinking about how they're coming across, who is managing how the interaction is going, is actually less present. They're divided, and that division is visible. Now let's talk about what it actually takes to embody this in a way that's genuine and not performative. This is critical because you can't fake genuine self-engagement. You can't pretend to have a full life and have it land. People sense when you're performing. The actual path to becoming more attractive is becoming more engaged with your own life. It's investing in things you genuinely care about. It's developing skills and interests that matter to you. It's building genuine friendships. It's having a sense of direction and purpose. And when you're actually engaged with these things, when they're real, then your energy naturally shifts. You're no longer focused on whether someone likes you because you're focused on something else. And that shift in focus is what makes you attractive. Here's something important about the relationship between self-focus and attractiveness. It's not selfish self-focus. It's not narcissistic self-focus. It's not the self-focus of someone trying to impress themselves. It's the self-focus of someone who is genuinely engaged with creating something, with becoming better at something, with understanding something, with contributing something. It's focus on purpose rather than focus on impression. And that kind of self-focus